Alright, so we finally have the sequel to Black Panther. This film called Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, full disclosure up front, I actually thoroughly enjoyed the first Black Panther film. I mean, obviously, Chadwick Boseman was very good. Additionally, the rest of the cast was pretty darn good. I mean, Angela Bassett by herself, can't go wrong with that. Amazing. But more important than that, the story was solid. There was struggle, there were stakes. It was very, very well done. Even a pretty good villain with Killmonger, up for debate. But nonetheless, big elephant in the room. Tragically, Chadwick Boseman does pass away between that film and this one. So the question becomes, how is Marvel going to handle that? Hey, it's King Kaiju here, and before we get to the answer, I need to tell everybody to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. Okay, now that that's done, so Marvel chooses to answer the question thusly. They begin with Shuri working on some DNA molecule type things to try to cure T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman, because he got some disease. Angela Bassett, Ramonda, her mom, comes in and says, you can stop, he dead. So, the decision is made to kill him off screen to an unknown mysterious disease, which is a little odd since they've established Wakanda as the most advanced country on the planet. Vibranium can pretty much do whatever the plot needs it to do. And when you become Black Panther from the first film, you're very resilient and you have healing, blah, blah, blah. Throw all that out the window, dead. And what follows then is actually, I will admit, a very, very well done funeral and tribute to Black Panther in film, but ostensibly, Chadwick Boseman in real life. But yeah, that part, very well done. Then we switch gears. And the gear we switch into is ridiculousness. It's the gear that we will stay in for the entirety of this film until a post-credit scene, but we will get to that. So, what happens now is some big bad burly mercenary men break into a Wakanda facility, ostensibly to steal some vibranium. When they get through the vault, there, surprise, surprise, is the Dora Milaje, who, pretty simply and quickly, kick ass and take names all over these big bad burly mercenary men. I don't know how long they were in the vault. I don't know if they had food or air, but hey, why think of that? It's unimportant. We then cut to a scene that is supposedly taking place in the United Nations. France is there, clearly, but there's another country, don't know the name from it, doesn't really matter. I didn't see Latveria, so that's all that matters. Nonetheless, the people at the United Nations are like, hey, Ramonda, as she's there, so, as sort of the titular leader of Wakanda, I guess. I mean, she didn't fight anybody. Her kids died. I don't know, they don't go into it. We're not supposed to know. But basically, they're like, hey, Ramonda, I don't care. Your son said that you were going to open up Wakanda to the rest of the world. You're going to share vibranium with us because, we got to defend ourselves from these cosmic threats like Loki's and Thanos's and everything else. It's been 6 years and he gave us butt kiss. So, what's the deal? And basically, Angela Bassett delivers it as best she can, but he just can't work with this shit. It's like, we changed our mind. We lied. Because we're afraid that you're going to use it against us. And if you need proof, open the doors. They open the doors, and in walks in all these mercenary men. And then what follows is truly disgusting. And they're basically told to kneel in front of the queen there. And they do. Now, I'm at a loss for the simple reason that you're in sort of a United Nations chamber type deal. I'm supposing there's cameras everywhere, press coverage. Just say no. Right? I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to kill you there in front of everybody? No, that makes Wakanda look terrible. They're going to beat you up there in front of everybody? No, makes Wakanda look terrible. It's a no-win situation for them. It's all these guys had to do. But no, instead, they all dropped to their knee. And really, it's clear that this was done for absolutely no other reason than to push this idiotic PC agenda that Marvel Disney has. It's utterly sickening, had no place in the film, and, it's not going to be the last time we see this kind of garbage. So, back in Wakanda, Ramonda tells Shuri that she's got something really important to tell her, but the plot prevents her from doing it right then and there. Instead, they're going to have to go on a walkabout. Now, they even teased a little thing here that might have actually been interesting, I'll be honest. And that was kind of Shuri's cold, hard, brutal, sort of atheistic scientific approach to death, to the heart-shaped herb, the Black Panther mantle, etc., versus Ramonda's warm, fuzzy, caring, I don't want to say religious, but sort of spiritualist or whatever you want to call it, view. There's a little bit of barbing, but they don't do much. Could have been expanded. It might have been interesting, but nope. We got things we got to do. So we got to go and walk about, and we got to be alone out in the middle of nowhere with Ramonda and Shuri next to some water, so that we can meet what the film is calling either Namor or Namor, depends on which actor or actress is saying it. However, I will not be. Now, for those of you who don't know, there's a comic book character, Namor the Submariner, who is so far removed from whatever this is on screen that I'm going to be calling from this point forward that character in Wakanda Forever Nino. Namor in name only, because that's it, man. Also, side note, whoever the actor is, can't pronounce his name, not even going to try. You're in a Marvel superhero movie. You're going to be topless most of the time. Hit the gym. And a lot harder than you did. I mean, take a look at Chris Hemsworth. Take a look at Chris Evans. Even Robert Downey Jr., at probably twice your age, or almost, got into some kind of shape. Much less, Hugh Jackman. It's a superhero movie. Come on. Nonetheless, Nino shows up and basically tells them that, one, he was able to get in with ease. And that's actually a big deal. Because there's supposed to be a force field around the entire nation that, I don't know what, it ends at water at surface level? I mean, it's the dumbest thing ever. Why wouldn't Russia, China, United States just send a bunch of Navy SEALs to go under the water? But nonetheless, he's here. Show you can get past your defenses. And also to tell you, hey, there's a vibranium detection machine. And, I got a whole country, people that live down in the ocean with me. So that's not cool for us. It's not cool for you. So here's the deal. If you guys just snag me up, the scientist who created it, I'll kill him, and then we'll both be cool. Sounds like a plan? There you go, sounds like a plan. Did I mention ridiculousness? Because up next is a scene whereby Ramonda tells Okoye and Shuri that they need to go to America to talk to Martin Freeman to find out where the scientist is. And there is no other purpose to the scene than for, I believe it's Okoye, to say, oh good, I get to go visit my favorite colonizer. Wah, wah. Bleh. And it would have been really brilliant. I would have been so happy if when they encountered Martin Freeman, he said, oh, it's my favorite slave trader. Because, it's now kind of come out that a lot of African tribes were selling their enemies into slavery or other tribes. Oh, sorry, that's reality, that's history, that contradicts our message, so skip all that. We'll just go with the colonizer route. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. They get a hold of Martin Freeman. He betrays his country, commits treason, tells them the the scientist they're looking for is at MIT, so they head off to go grab the scientist. Well, they get to MIT, and the scientist isn't a scientist, it's a student. I just spoiled that. The student is Riri Williams. Now, for those of you not familiar with Riri Williams, congratulations, you're living a far better life than I am. Ostensibly, in the comic book, Riri Wilson, yeah, she is the POC replacement for Iron Man without any of the struggle, charisma, charm, or interesting storylines. In Wakanda Forever, she's almost worse. And I say that because it's very clear that there was a meeting in the writing room for this film. And they said, you know what? In the Star Wars trilogy, they established Rey as an insane Mary Sue. But we already said, hold my beer, we got Captain Marvel, an even bigger Mary Sue than Rey. So the question on the table in front of this writer's room, can we top ourselves? And the answer is yes, we can. In form of Riri Williams. Riri Williams is utterly, totally, and completely perfect and wonderful in every capacity, in every situation. She's encountered in a dorm room by Okoye, ready to totally kill her, and she's calm, cool, collective, and whipping out little jokes that one or two people in the audience laughed about Okoye's head being ashy. Otherwise, not a problem. Police showed up, ready to take her away, the feds, no problem. She even does insanely, impossible, ridiculous things. So let's start. At one point, she explains that she forgot her password that was encrypted, and so she created a quantum computer in 2 weeks to crack it. Now, I understand 99% of the audience, maybe 95% of the audience wouldn't have any idea what that is, but to the 5 or 1% that does, a quantum computer is something that the brightest minds with millions of dollars have been working on for decades. And there's progress, but it isn't really a viable option yet. She does it in 2 weeks. The worst part of all of this is there's a very simple fix, writers. Swap out the word quantum computer, words, with algorithm, right? There you go. It's not as unbelievable that someone could create an algorithm, but no, we got to do quantum computer. Okay. She's got classic car that she does. She's got emotion. She's got everything. So the feds show up. Koya takes off in the car. Shuri takes off in the motorcycle. What on earth is Riri Williams to do? Don't worry. She's got a makeshift Iron Man outfit. Now, I say makeshift Iron Man outfit because it really is clearly just her little design thing. That is to say, it looks a lot like the hauler from Aliens, in all honesty. Nothing on the head, nothing on the body, really. Just sort of limb, torso, But it does fly, of course. So she takes off. Chase ensues. Buckle up. This is about to get insane. They inform Riri that they are being tracked by a drone that is 30,000 feet in the air. So tell me if this sounds familiar to you. Riri Williams shoots up to the 30,000 feet. They're like, no, you can't make it. Yes, I can. Gets up there, shoots down the drone. It's really high, so she passes out, comes falling down to the earth, and just an inch before the ocean, water, the boosters kick in, and she's cool. Now, yes, that's very similar to the scene from Iron Man. Again, we're trying to establish that she's the new Iron Man, with some very important differences. First and foremost, even the writers of Iron Man weren't stupid enough to make it 30,000 feet. We're not going to get into the amount of time that we required for her to get to 30,000 feet. Instead, we're going to focus on this. I did a lookup, and factoring in a couple of different variables, it's around negative 45 degrees Fahrenheit at 30,000 feet. Would you like to guess the temperature at which case people start dying? Yeah, 0. 45 degrees warmer. So let's just play some stupid game where Riri Williams doesn't actually die. She would most definitely have frostbite like you would not believe. But not in this film. In this film, there's not a speck or a lick of frost on her, her extremities, or even the outfit. Now, saying to yourself, all right, that's pretty bad. But they didn't get any worse, did they? Oh, yes, they did. Get ready for this. So, there's a shot not too long after this. Koya coming up one side of a road, car. Shuri coming up the other side of the road in a motorcycle with about a dozen cop cars behind them, and feds, or whatever they are. Riri Williams come in the Iron Man outfit, comes flying in, so that she's in the middle. So you got the three of them heading towards the camera with all the feds and the cops behind them. Very, very dramatic. And then that drone comes and lands on the feds, ostensibly killing them. I mean, let's be honest. There's flames, there's fire, everything. No mention of that. Allowing our intrepid heroines to get away. In order for this to happen, Riri Williams must have precognition abilities. She is able to know where she's going to be, and Shuri's going to be, and Okoye is going to be, and the feds are going to be at a point in time in the future. And she is able to do calculations in her head instantly to factor in everything: gravity, velocity, wind shear, angle, descent, thrust, you name it, to hit the drone in such a spot at such an angle with such force that it would accomplish the set goal. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous. It's beyond insulting. It's beyond insane, and it rips any sort of willing suspension of disbelief out the window that anybody might have had. And in some ways, it's all for naught, because in film, the Nino's people show up, they kick ass majorly, like just totally kick ass, snag Shuri, and head back down to the underworld world. Guess that's what you call it, because I'm not calling it Atlantis. So back in Wakanda, Koya's like, so sorry, lost Shuri, and Ramonda's like, hey, no problem, you're fired. Yeah, first time you messed up, you're out the door. Now, the sad part is this was supposed to be played off as an emotional scene whereby Ramonda has lost her son T'Challa, and now, because of Okoye, has lost her daughter Shuri. So she's over emotional and she reacts and does something stupid, firing for person for the first time offense. Angela Bassett acts her ass off. I mean, she carries the entire film, if we got to be honest. But even she cannot save the shit lines and dialogue and setup that she's given. I mean, she does what she can. So Koya's out. Meanwhile, Nino grabs Shuri, puts her in this little whirlwind tunnel elevator thing down to his city. It's way underwater. It's bottom of the ocean. It's got lights. No real explanation how, And then, can't believe I'm saying this. Nino talks to his people underwater. Like, do a quick check. Or, I don't know, be a human who's ever talked underwater at a swim club or pool or the gym or wherever. Sound doesn't travel through water. Well, in this movie it does. And eventually, Nino takes her to, like, an air pocket. Somehow there's an air pocket underwater with a thatch hut that he basically takes her to tell her his origin story. Now, first and foremost, like, the amount of pressure at that depth would crush all his people, him. You can play a game where they're extra tough because they've lived there their whole life. Okay. But the air pocket thing makes no sense. And basically, his origin story is just, colonizers showed up 300 years ago, kicked ass. So he's now over 300 years old for reasons. And I find it odd because, okay, so we as humans, we honor things from our past. So you would go to a museum to look at something from 300 years ago, like a thatched hut. But the museum isn't thatched hut. Advance much, dude? Seriously. Basically, in a nutshell, he just wants Shuri to understand that they got their people, he's got his people, they should work together, they can kick ass and take names, but it's in the best interest, again, for them to take out this scientist so that there's no more vibranium detector, and, gives her a little necklace as a token of who knows what. Oh, wait a minute. Plot device. There we go. Now, subsequent to this, Ramonda has gone to Haiti, where we discover Black Panther's girlfriend from the first film, Nakia, has been living. She was actually not one of the people that got blipped, so she's been hanging and banging there for about 6 years now, teaching, it looks like. And Ramonda's like, hey, I need you to find Shuri. And she's like, no problem. Because again, she's pretty much Superwoman. She can speak any language she needs to. She can get people to tell her anything she needs to. She instantly finds out the entrance to Nino's little underwater tunnel elevator thing. And then this is where we get, wow. She uses it, gets into Atlantis, sorry, I said I wouldn't do that. Gets into Underground City, somehow undetected, finds the air bubble, undetected, gets in, gets to the thatched hut where Shuri's at. Nino's gone off to do some government business or something. So she's like, hey, Shuri, I'm here to rescue you. Shuri's like, all right, sounds cool, let's go. They head out, they go jetting up to the surface. Yeah, bends aren't a thing in this movie. No worries. I'm like going, you gotta be kidding me. I mean, there's no way that she could do any of this. None. It's insane. But not in this film. She's like, no problem. Well, Nino gets done with the old gov biz, comes back to that thatched hut. Oh, wait, Shuri's gone? And she had some help from the Wakandans? Those dicks. All right. Let's go kick their ass. All right, so Nino and his people show up at Wakanda. Force field is not a thing. They get in, they kick all kinds of ass. I mean, Nino takes out half the freaking Wakanda army just with his little flying wing feet. He is, however, stopped by a glass. Yep, that's correct. Ramonda is in like the throne room area with a glass thing. Riri Williams is there, no apparent reason. And, Nino throws a spear and it just kind of cracks the glass. Okay. Throws another one, shatters, does his little speech. He basically kind of is like, just kind of kicked everyone's ass and took everyone's name. And Wakanda, pretty much could be mine now. But instead, I'm going to give you a week to turn over the old scientist there so I can kill her. I'm not going to grab her or anything. Just do the right thing. I'm going to give you plenty of time to come up with a plan to defeat me. Really. Anyways, he leaves. Ramonda, basically shields Riri Williams and essentially sacrifices herself. Which is utterly ridiculous on many levels. She didn't need to. She's been the only consistently great thing in this whole movie. And Ramonda's story isn't done, in all honesty. But, again, you gotta remember, Riri Williams is perfect. She's the future. In fact, it's so bad that, the Wakandans have these little bracelets, these little tiny balls that kind of does whatever they need to. Sometimes they communicate, whatever else. Well, in this scene, they're placed on Riri Williams' chest there as defibrillators. And I did check. I think defibrillators are about 7 or 8 car batteries worth of electricity, but it's all in that little ball. No problem. And they revive Riri Williams and save her life. Ramonda, not so much luck. And also, double not so much luck, we don't have time in the plot, despite this being a 2-hour and 41-minute film, to have any kind of funeral or recognition for you. So, adios. Let's move on with the plot. Alright, so you knew this was coming. Shuri's like, hey, I got this little bracelet thing here, and I think I can use that to make the heart-shaped herb that I haven't been able to make up till this point. Yeah, that makes sense. So she 3D laser prints a synthetic heart-shaped herb. Now, there are organic 3D printers out there, but they aren't like this. So, again, insulting. She takes the herb. She goes on a little trip where she runs into Killmonger. Thankfully, we get something from the first film. Yep, there's Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, and he basically tells her, hey, you doing this to be the Black Panther or for revenge? She said, oh, for revenge, most enough. He's like, you know what? Just FYI, I did the whole revenge thing. Look how it turned out for me. She's like, nah, I don't care. I'm just getting revenge. There's nothing you can do to convince me. He's like, you sure about that? She's like, yep, revenge is the way to go. He's like, all right, cool. Knock yourself out with that. She gets back, and now she is Black Panther. All right, one of her first acts as Black Panther is to drop in on the Wakandan Council of Elders. And when I say drop in, I do mean literally drop in. She comes out of a ship that's, 200-300 feet in the air. And she lands in the center, and I gotta tell you as a side note, okay, so this film was kind of advertised as for black people, blah, 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 blah. All right, so saw it, sold out show, which is actually really cool. Like, I was so happy to see people are coming back to the films, coming back to the movie theaters. Black Adam a few weeks ago also was sold out, so I was very happy with that. And to be fair, I will say maybe 75% of the audience was black, right? So the marketing worked. Great. Cool. So I mentioned they chuckled at the ass joke. So Shuri drops as the Black Panther into the middle, and we see they do kind of a little thing on the elders, and they're all women, except M'Baku, thankfully. M'Baku gets thrown a bone. And then one other guy. They show this guy. He's a black gentleman, and he has got one of those big-ass, like, clay discs in his lip. So big and bad and, poorly placed, he can't talk well. And the audience busted out laughing. Like, that was the only laughing in the whole film. And it was for that scene. That image. Like, even, that was just ridiculous. But basically, in a nutshell, she's like, hey, elders, we're going to go kick Namor's ass. God, so sorry. We're going to kick Nino's ass. And M'Baku's like, hey, doesn't make much sense. Like, a lot of dying can be simply avoided. Let's give him the kid. and let him do the murdering and all that stuff. We get no vibranium detector. We get an ally. It's all good around. No. Shuri's like, oh, none of that. I'm going sweet ass revenge, and you can all take it or leave it. So, revenge it is. And she's got some tactics that are gonna ensure victory. What are those tactics you're saying? Well, we should definitely attack Nino and his water people on the water. Yes, that's right. Wakanda has a ship, looks to be like the size of an aircraft carrier, despite being a landlocked nation. Whatever. And we're going to attack Nino and his people with his boat. When Nino shows up, the plan is to put him in sort of a dehydration chamber in this plane because we think that he needs water every so often to rehydrate, I guess. And I'll just kind of get him weak and then kill his ass. Plan cool? Plan cool. So here we go. Ship shows up. Nino's people show up. Black Panther shows up and does a bunch of CGI foot floppy kicking Nino people butts on the ship. Now, no fault for the actress and by extension the stunt double they had to use or the CGI they had to create. In fact, kudos to her actually. She is in very, very good shape, but very, very small. So this Black Panther cannot be more than 100 pounds. And it is utterly unbelievable that she would be able to kick any kind of ass. Outside of the fact that for all previous established norms, she was a teenage genius, not a hand-to-hand combat specialist. But okay. And what's really sad is you had some really prime candidates that would have been credible and would have been believable. Okoye would have made a great Black Panther. Hell, Nakia would have made a Black Panther. I would have taken, and actually been super happy, with Angela Bassett's Ramonda being a Black Panther. I don't care if she's in her 60s. She was ripped and could kick some ass, no questions. But this little 98-pound soaking wet girl looked ridiculous. Not only that, but to top it all off, she gets Nino in the old dehydration thing, and he ends up knocking some jet or something, and they go, and she directs it to crash in the desert that's near the water. Which, duh, not a lot of, ability for him to rehydrate there. They have a nice little hand-to-hand battle, and Nino actually takes a spear and rams it through, and it is very clear. There is no question on this whatsoever. Through the mid-torso, dead center, like belly button, which would destroy a spine. Minimum. And he does it with such force and power that the spear goes into a stone behind her and impales her trapped. He then spins around, starts walking back to the ocean. He's got to rehydrate. So, Shuri, who's now ostensibly had her entire spine crushed, internal organs turned to gush, boom, breaks that spear in half and starts to walk, pulling herself off of the spear. Okay, now, here's where things really went off the rail. I was looking real good. And there was not one single drop of blood on the stone, the spear, or her outfit. In fact, there was no wound, and the outfit wasn't even torn. I don't know if they forgot, I don't know if they messed up, I don't know what the deal was. It was insultingly bad. Just insane. Now, speaking of insultingly bad, you see some guy walking back to the ocean, you're, I guess, injured? Makes sense to me, you'd tackle him from behind, pin him, wait for him to hydrate, right? Wrong. She actually flips over him, spinning in midair so that she's not facing him. I can't. Knocks him down. He's like, all right, kill me. And she just kind of goes, no, I think if we work together, that'd be cool. We're going to go with your idea. Oh, okay. Sounds good. Why not? Let's do that then. Back at the boat, the Wakandans have had their ass handed to them. They're down to probably 20 people. Because, they're fighting water people on the water. Shuri shows up with Nino, and they're both like, hey, stop fighting. We're cool now. we're partners, we're peeps. And that's how they resolve their big, huge battle difference. Now, I did forget to mention a couple of key things from this battle. And by key, I mean awful. First thing was that Shuri rehires Okoye and says, you gotta wear this special armor. Now, the reason that this is done, ostensibly, is to introduce the MCU to the Midnight Angels, which is an offshoot of the Dora Milaje from the comic books. However, they do omit one key element. The ones in the comic book are assassins. No mention of that here. Second of all, as either given or partially constructed, who knows, who cares, they bust out Riri Williams' Ironheart armor. And it is terrible. Like, I'll give mad props. Marvel has been absolutely amazing translating comic book outfits to live action. They are similar enough that you make a connection, but they are realistic enough that you believe they exist in the real world, right? They're like, the Iron Man outfits did not look like CGI, okay? Yes, when it's like forming all over his body by itself, the CGI, but at the end product, when he's actually fighting or whatever else, it looks good. This did not. It didn't look sharp and crisp. It looked smooth and sort of a cheat. And I don't know if this is the armor they're going to use in the show. I don't care, but it didn't look good. And, it was done for just no other reason than to introduce it for the show, I guess. But now that we're all friends again, and it's the end of the movie, we have a few wrap-up things to do. So we send Riri Williams back to MIT. However, they say you can't take the armor, which is slightly interesting. I'm guessing that'll be some plot point from the TV show. Who cares? 2, Martin Freeman is seen in a prisoner transport. He's committed treason. I guess he got caught, possibly tried. Who knows? And I gotta tell you, this is really insane. So it's him by himself. He's the only prison transport. 2 guys in the front. They find a tree across the street. Now, at this point, right, if I'm somebody that's the driver or passenger, I go, lock the doors, close them, get on the horn. Hey, we got a setup. We got a trap here. Send a helicopter ASAP. Right? Because there's no way anybody doesn't know that that's what it is. But these 2 idiots, they get out. They get their ass kicked, and Okoye opens the van and frees Martin Freeman, which I also find interesting from the standpoint of, like, what's he going to do? Right? The guy's treasonous. Like, the government isn't going to let him have any more access to secrets. I mean, I guess he can go live in Wakanda as the token white man, as homogenous societies go, they seem to have a lock on that, but that wouldn't be hypocritical to point that out. And then the last thing happens as a post-credit scene. And basically, Shuri goes to visit Nakia in Haiti, and she's introduced to T'Challa's 6-year-old son. Wah, wah, wah. Okay. I say that, but that's not fair. It was actually rather touching. It was rather moving, and it was a nice sort of bookend with that great funeral at the front of the movie. And that's it. Boom. Adios. And outside of being an absolutely awful, terrible movie, as I've just explained, there's 2 other things that I wanted to point out. Well, one was there was a question, an argument, I suppose. Is there a worse sequel than Wonder Woman 1984? I think we have our answer. Yes. Second, and far more important, and I don't know what direction this entails. I am concerned that there may be some listening to the wrong people, but the power and strength of the Marvel Cinematic Universe has always been the fact that it was tied in together, right? And, there's been some voices that, there's Marvel fatigue, or, people don't want to see that. It's all crap. It's all bullshit, right? It's how you do it. Well, this movie barely did it at all. I mean, yes, there's an introduction of Ironheart, which is going to be in some TV show, but it hasn't happened yet. They mention the Hulk one time. But, you've got a bunch of things that you could kind of toy with here. So, as much of an abomination as the She-Hulk was, it would not be unrealistic to have something with She-Hulk from the show on a TV in the background of a shot, right? That's all. More direct to the point, I guess, maybe you want to call it. There's now a black Captain America in this universe. Why would there not be any mention of that? Why would that not be celebrated in Wakanda? Again, they just made none of those ties. And I know there's been some voices out there that have been like, we have some Marvel fatigue, blah, blah, blah. No. The unity, the cohesiveness, the connectivity of the universe is what has made this so special. And to remove that is just absolutely insane. But then again, as I think I just pointed out, the whole movie is absolutely insane in a terrible, terrible way.